OBR, which is the equivalent of the Burundi Revenue Services, the Commissioner General for the South Sudan National Revenue Authority, the Deputy Commissioner General of the Rwanda Revenue Authority, we have a head of delegation representing the Commissioner General of the Tanzania Revenue Authority. We have the Commissioner General of the Zanzibar Revenue Authority. For the benefit chair of our Commissioners General, we have members of the media here, and they come from media houses that include the NTV, the New Vision, Salt Television, Star TV, Bukede Television, CBS FM, that's a radio, Radio 4, Super FM, Uganda Radio Network, Smart 24 is a television, Baba TV, the Daily Monitor, Smart 24, a television, Sapientia is a radio station. We have Channel 44, TV, and NBS. So, Chair, I think in the interest of time, I would like to hand over to you so that you could guide us in the next communication.
Thank you very much. Colleague, Commissioners General from the East African region, commissioners present, the team of experts from the respective tax administrations from the East African region, and all the staff present here. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I welcome you to this closing session of the 50th East Africa Revenue Administration's Commissioner General Forum, which started on the 16th of February and is ending today, the 17th of February, 2023. As you will note, the theme for this 50th EARACG Forum has been leveraging technology and data for revenue mobilization. And the reason we chose this theme was that revenue collection and management is gradually moving from self-declaration, what it has been for many years, to effectively and efficiently collecting revenue at source. And this is for the obvious benefit. One, it will increase the accuracy in the assessment of taxes. It will improve on the compliance with payment of taxes, but it will also enhance our customer experience and improve our efficiencies. So this is the future of tax administration, and I want to thank my colleagues, the Commissioners Generals of this East African region, for giving this very important forum the priority and the attention that it deserves, coming and spending the last 2 days here, not only them as individual Commissioner Generals, but also with their top team, senior management, all the commissioners, their top experts who have facilitated and participated in this meeting for the last 2 days. I appreciate you, and I thank you for working together as the East African region to improve the tax collection and administration of our respective countries for the development of our nations. We have agreed on a number of resolutions, and indeed the Secretariat will share these resolutions after they've been properly prepared and signed. But for purposes of this brief conference, I want to highlight a few areas where we agreed and the resolutions that we made around these areas. The first resolution was on having a common tax administration system and a common data governance policy across the region. This is for the obvious reason that technology is very expensive, but also this technology should be domesticated and managed efficiently. So we shared how every country is running its tax administration system, and we agreed that going forward, we should work together to find the most suitable solutions for tax management, not only for today, but even for the future. And we have tasked our team of experts, the commissioners in charge of this area of IT, and the IT subcommittee of this forum, to work hard and get back to us within 1 month's time on how we shall proceed together on this front. The second resolution that we have agreed on today is on having a uniform digital services tax across the region. The Kenya Revenue Authority shared with us the experience in what they've been able to achieve by collecting digital services tax at a rate of 1.5. And after listening to the experience, we agreed that when we go back, we make recommendations to our respective governments, our heads of state, on enhancing and improving the tax rate for digital services, and our recommendation will be 5%, so that it is comparable to the other taxes that we charge the resident businesses within our countries. And this is something that we also agreed to expedite and start implementing in our respective countries. The other most important decision that we agreed on is to support one another in the cross-border recovery of taxes and enhancing our legal frameworks to expedite this. Because as we know, we have businesses that operate across our borders, and sometimes they go after defaulting in one country and operate freely in another. So we are going to enhance the existing frameworks and find ways of expeditiously supporting one another in collecting of taxes across the borders. Now, these and many other resolutions, as they will be communicated in the comprehensive list of resolutions, are part of what we spent time discussing. And on the side of efficiently managing tax collection, we spent time considering areas where we will start. And we prioritized the area of telcos and efficient management of the VAT using technology. So these will be the first two areas of focus, but gradually we will add on other sectors and other tax heads. I thank you very much, colleagues, the commissioners general of the respective tax authorities. All of them came. As you can see, all the members of the East African community are represented here. I thank you, our commissioners who accompanied the CGs. I thank you, the team of experts who have been supporting this conference. And I thank you, the hosts, the members of staff, and the commissioners of Uganda Revenue Authority for the work that you have done in making this conference a success. I thank members of the media who have supported us always and are here again to cover this function. I thank you very much, and I wish our delegates, first of all, a very comfortable and happy stay for the time that they are still in Uganda. But when they choose to travel back, I wish them very safe journeys And of course, those who still have some time, I encourage you to stay a little longer and see the beauty of the Pearl of Africa. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the Commissioner General, Uganda Revenue Authority. Let us give an asante sana. Asante sana! With the permission of the Commissioner General, he will entertain probably a question or two from the media. If there is any clarification that is needed from that communication, and after that, we will be going for a close, and we'll be closing with the anthems. So the media at this juncture can be able to either ask a question, make a comment for the Commissioner General's observation or noting, or even a response. Yes, Samuel.
Samuel West Manai, just delighted to hear the resolutions that you accepted on the work with Baba Television. Something that I've noticed and observed when I've reported on tax across countries is the political influence across countries that we have different policies, different states, despite the fact that we are talking about the same as tax collection. How are you going to manage that so that another political state, another head of state, or the political activities that influence tax collection in another country does not affect or hinder the implementation of your resolutions? Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel. Another question? Okay, microphone up front here. Start with her.
Yes, I'm Princess Joyce Ndagire, working with the Radio 4. You have talked about these good resolutions. I would like to know specifically, when are they going to start working? Are we starting now? Next year? Only that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. My name is Molondo Emmanuel from Uganda Radio Network. To the Commissioners General. In Uganda, and probably not only in Uganda, because when we get news from across our neighbors with the, our neighbor Rwanda, it looks the problem is the same. The issue of smuggling continues, and it looks to be a big problem. And to me, this is symbolic of the fact that the Commissioner General of Uganda said that in the region, the terrain looks to be the same across, the economic condition across. But if you find citizens in one country deciding to say, for us, we are going to smuggle from Kenya to Uganda, we are going to smuggle from Uganda to Rwanda, that means there is something, there's no uniformity, there's no harmonization. There's something that the Ugandan would like to get from across that he can't get locally in terms of good prices, in terms of those other factors on which taxation is based. So I'm just asking, as Commissioners General, how have you addressed this problem? And in solving it, how are you interfacing with the East African community? Because at times, discussions at the other end look to be trying to drive in the same direction, but then you find at a taxation policy level, it looks to be in different directions, leading to the problem I'm talking about.
Thank you very much. I think that should be our last question there. You have one? Okay, you'll be the last. Thank you very much.
My name is Saddam Ubale. I work with UBC TV. Something that I've not heard about is the uniformity. Okay, my question kind of relates to what he said, but is quite different. How are you going to harmonize? Because each East African member state has a different political tax regime. Are you talking about a uniform tax regime? Because Uganda has its own, and depending with the interest of the country. How are you going to work on that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our last question at the back.
Thank you so much. My name is Stephen Kalisa. I also work with UBC TV. My question is about the insecurity of the business community who are trading between Uganda and South Sudan. I have not had a resolution that concerns the security of the business people who actually have or may still face challenges when they trade between these two countries, even other countries. For example, recently there was an issue that happened between a smuggler, a Ugandan trader, possibly, who was smuggling between Uganda and Rwanda and was killed. So this issue still remains an issue because we need to have a secure environment for trade so that people can be able to pay their taxes freely. Have you had anything to discuss about these issues?
Thank you very much for your questions. Chair, Commissioner General, Uganda Revenue Authority, maybe it would be nice time to respond.
Thank you very much, members of the press, for those important questions that you have raised. I will answer some, and I'll also ask my colleagues, the Commissioner Generals from the respective countries, to add on and supplement. I think the first question was on how sure are we that the decisions we've taken here will be implemented in our respective countries, given that different countries have different laws, but also we are not the final decision makers on issues. I think that's a good question, and as you heard, some of the resolutions we've made is to recommend to our respective governments, especially on issues like policy, determination of tax rates. You had our recommendation on digital services tax. We will make a recommendation, and our respective heads of state and the respective ministries will take the final decisions. Ours, as tax administrators, is to make recommendations based on research, and the final decisions will be taken. But fortunately for us, we are also meeting as East African tax administrators operating under the East African community. And the East African community has gone a long way in harmonizing some of our policies. For example, we have the common external tariff affecting all regulations and laws around our international trading. So that is already resolved. One of the observations that we made is that our domestic laws are not yet harmonized. They vary a lot. We charge different rates of excise duties. We charge different rates of VAT, and sometimes that causes a challenge. And again, one of the resolutions that we made here is to recommend to our Council of Ministers to expedite the process of harmonizing our domestic taxes. So we'll make the recommendations and follow up to ensure that at the EAC level, our tax laws are really harmonized. They've already been harmonized to a great extent on the side of customs. Now we need to bring domestic taxes to the same speed. The next question was on the time it will take to implement the decisions. Again, some are immediate. Others, we have agreed on timelines, 1 month, like the harmonization of our ICT platforms. We've said 1 month, we must get advice on how to move forward. So the detailed communique will have the dates and timelines. It was in the interest of time that we have spoken to you off our heads on the key areas of resolution. But we have a detailed communique with about 18 points, and each of those points has a specific timeline in which we shall deliver these resolutions. There is an issue, the next question was on smuggling, and I'm going to ask my brother, Commissioner James Mbulo of KRA, to handle that question.
Thank you very much, Chairman and the members of the further state. Smuggling occurs generally where there is an advantage to be gained when you move goods from one country to another, either because those goods are not taxed in one country and they are taxed in another, so there is interest in moving them from the country where they are not taxed to the country where they are taxed, or because the rates are different, the rates of tax are different, or where it is easier. You may tax in both countries, but it is easier to evade those taxes from one country and move the goods to another country. So as a region, we are very much aware of this, and we have taken very bold measures to deal with smuggling of goods. For example, when goods move from the port of entry, Mombasa, to our respective countries, we track them real time on what we call the regional electronic cargo tracking system. We can see those goods move all the way from Mombasa to all our respective destinations, real time. And we are able to take interventions when anybody tries to smuggle those goods out of the transit routes. In this meeting, we have also discussed about use of smart gates as part of the enhanced technology we shall use for monitoring those goods. So we will ensure that we use smart gates so that if a vehicle leaves Mombasa, we can see it real-time exit at the border. Using the smart gates, they can be able to track down the container numbers and also the vehicle numbers, and also take care of the weights to ensure that those goods exit the border. We realize our borders are porous, very, very porous indeed. And in this discussion, we have discussed how to use drones to enhance our ability, because from a drone, you can be able to surveil a large portion of that border from one point and take appropriate intervention. So we are deploying drones to help us in that kind of exercise. In Kenya, we have already started procuring those drones, very highly technical drones that will help us surveil those expansive borders and have what we call pointed interventions. We are also going to enhance the deployment of our staff that we have at the borders to ensure we have adequate staff at the borders. Of course, you are aware we have deployed scanners to ensure that we can see whatever is coming in and going out. So the bigger challenge has been the expansiveness of the border, which now we are moving towards the drone technology to ensure that we deal with that problem. But we are also trying to deal with this smuggling problem from a policy perspective. Like I said, where rates are different, then there is what you call, there is motivation to evade the taxes or to smuggle the goods. So we have discussed in this meeting how we shall move towards harmonization of our tax rates, so that there is no motivation of smuggling ethanol from Tanzania to Kenya or from Uganda to Kenya, because the rate that is charged on ethanol will be the same. So there is no motivation, you gain no advantage. So we are pursuing harmonization of our tax rates so that there is no motivation to smuggle the goods. And I believe with those two interventions, and ensuring that domestically we enhance the kind of controls we have in terms of exports, in terms of movement of goods, this should not be a big problem moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner General KRA, Comrade James Mbulu, for that. Now, the last question was on the insecurity across borders in some of our neighboring countries. But to be fair to the colleagues here, Commissioner Generals, the security issue is much beyond the scope of the tax administrators. But since we have our brother from South Sudan, the National Revenue Authority of South Sudan, I will ask him to say a word or two on what the security situation is as one of the examples given that hampers trade between our two countries. Acting Commissioner General, Comrade Chol, please have a word to say about this.
Thank you, Chair. I think the issue of the border security is something that one cannot say it can be ensured 100%, because it is not a government policy, but it is the community itself which can create a situation of insecurity at the border. However, the government of South Sudan has put the policies in place to secure the borders. And I think these policies, always when there is an incident with the border, South Sudan and Kenya and Uganda, immediately the inspectors of police of the two countries will contact themselves and they will meet to see what has happened and to ensure that it should not happen again. I think that is the same thing with Kenya. But what I know, especially Uganda and South Sudan, there is always a contact between the two inspectors general of police about the security at the border. I can say at the moment, the borders of South Sudan with the neighboring countries are better than when we used to be before. Especially when we got independent, our borders insecurity was very bad. The truck drivers from Kenya, from Uganda, I think there were incidences where the drivers were being killed at the border. But that is not the case now, because the issue has been addressed. And the issue of the border between Sudan and Uganda, it is in the hands of inspectors general. When it happens, they meet and they address the issue. So I would say things are normal now at the border of South Sudan than when they were before, especially at the time we got independent. Things were not okay. But I think we are okay now with the security at the border. But incidences can always be there. They can occur and they can also be addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Acting Commissioner General. National Revenue Authority of South Sudan. Now, finally, colleagues and members of the Fourth Estate, we agreed that this meeting is a biannual meeting. So we agreed that the next EARACG's meeting will be held on the 24th and 25th of August, 2023, and it will be held in the Republic of Tanzania. So we look forward to meeting again then, and of course reviewing the progress on the resolutions that we have made today. And I hope that most of these will be ticked off as implemented before we resolve on the next set. I thank you very much, all of you, for your participation. And I thank you, members of the Fourth Estate, for covering this function. I wish you a great stay in Uganda and safe travels when you travel back. I hereby declare this meeting closed.
Asante sana. Distinguished guests, may we stand for the anthems.
Ize na malengo yetu, jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. Uzalendo pia mshikamano viwe msingi wa umoja wetu, na tulinde uhuru na amani, mila zetu na desturi zetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. Viwandani na hata mashambani, tufanye kazi sote kwa makini, tujitoe kwa hali na mali, tuijenge jumuiya bora. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde,